I'd always trusted Sarah. We had been married for 10 years, and in all that time, trust was the one thing that had never wavered. No matter how tense things got, how tired we became of the same routines, how much the outside world pressed in, we always had that. I never doubted it. I trusted Sarah like I trusted my own heart to keep beating. And why wouldn't I? We had built a life together, one brick at a time. We had weathered so many storms, miscarriages, job losses, sick parents. We always came out the other side, battered, but still standing. Sarah had this way about her, a quiet resilience, the kind of strength that didn't need to announce itself, and I loved her for it. Even when things between us got hard, and they did, more often than I wanted to admit, I loved her. That's why, on that Friday night, when she mentioned going out with the girls, I didn't even blink. It was one of those mundane, half-conversations we'd had a million times before. We were sitting at the kitchen table, eating dinner. She was picking at her food, glancing out the window at the sunset, her mind somewhere else. "I think I'm going to go out with the girls this weekend," she said, almost absent-mindedly. "Yeah? That sounds nice," I replied, barely looking up from my plate. "You could use a break." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I didn't notice at the time. I was too wrapped up in my own world, in my work stress, and the bills piling up on the counter. I'd seen that look on her face before, the restless kind, the one that said she needed a change of scenery, needed to feel something different, if only for a night. "You sure you're okay with it?" she asked, her voice soft, testing. "Of course," I said, shrugging. "Go have fun. I'll be fine." I didn't think about it again after that. The rest of the week passed in a blur of deadlines and meetings, Sarah drifting through the house like a ghost. We barely saw each other during the day, both of us caught up in the grind of our jobs. By the time Friday rolled around, I was looking forward to a quiet night in, maybe a game on TV, and an early night to bed. Sarah, on the other hand, seemed unusually upbeat. I noticed it as she got ready, humming to herself as she rifled through her closet, trying on different dresses, fussing with her hair in front of the mirror. It wasn't like her to put this much effort into a girls' night out. Usually, she was out the door in jeans and a casual top, no makeup, no fuss. I sat on the bed, watching her as she twirled in front of the mirror, checking the fit of a sleek black dress I didn't remember her owning. She caught me staring and smiled, that same strange smile I'd seen earlier in the week. "What?" she asked, laughing lightly. "Nothing," I said, shaking my head. "You just look different." "Different how?" She turned to face me, hands on her hips, her head tilted slightly, like she was testing me. "I don't know," I replied, unable to put it into words. "Just different. You look great." She gave me a playful roll of her eyes and turned back to the mirror. "You're ridiculous." I watched her for a moment longer, feeling a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. It wasn't jealousy exactly. I trusted Sarah. I had no reason not to. But there was something in the way she moved that night, something in the way she avoided my gaze when I complimented her, that made me uneasy. I brushed it off. She deserved a night out. We both did. Before she left, she kissed me on the cheek, lingering for just a second longer than usual. "I'll be home late, okay?" she said, grabbing her bag and keys. "Yeah, no problem. Have fun," I replied, smiling as I watched her walk out the door. As soon as she was gone, the house felt too quiet. I turned on the TV, flipped through channels, trying to find something to occupy my mind, but nothing stuck. I kept glancing at my phone, expecting a text from her, maybe a selfie with the girls, or some update about how much fun they were having. But the screen remained dark. An hour passed, then another. The feeling in my gut grew worse, a slow, creeping unease that I couldn't shake. I tried telling myself I was being ridiculous. This was Sarah, my Sarah, the woman who had been by my side for over a decade. She was out with her friends, probably laughing and having a good time. There was nothing to worry about. But as the hours ticked by, that small flicker of doubt grew into a burning flame. I couldn't sit still. I got up and paced the living room, my thoughts spiraling into places I didn't want to go. What if something had happened to her? What if she was in trouble? What if... No, I couldn't let my mind go there. But then, almost on instinct, I grabbed my phone and opened her messages. Her last text was from earlier in the day, just a quick "love you" before she left for work. It felt cold now, distant. I scrolled through our conversations from the past few weeks, trying to find some sign, some hint of why I was feeling like this. But everything seemed normal, routine. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. That wasn't like her. Sarah always kept her phone on, always responded within a few minutes, even if it was just a quick, "Hey, I'm busy." But tonight, nothing. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the dial button, debating whether I should call her again. But then I hesitated. What was I going to say? That I was worried about her? That I couldn't sit still, couldn't breathe without knowing where she was? I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband checking up on his wife like some kind of paranoid idiot. But I was starting to feel like one. I grabbed my jacket and keys before I could talk myself out of it. I told myself I just needed to check in, to see her, to put my mind at ease. I'd go to the bar she mentioned, have a drink, maybe surprise her. Then I'd head home, laugh at myself for being so ridiculous, and go to bed. That's all it was. The drive to the bar felt longer than usual. My hands gripped the steering wheel tight, knuckles white, my heart pounding in my chest. I tried to push the thoughts from my mind, telling myself that everything was fine, that I was just being stupid. But as I got closer to the club, the knot in my stomach tightened. I pulled into the parking lot, my headlights cutting through the darkness. The club was packed, neon lights flashing in the cool night air, music thumping from inside. I could see people laughing, couples leaning into each other, bodies pressed together on the sidewalk as they waited to get in. I scanned the crowd, half expecting to see Sarah among them, her familiar figure standing with her friends, smiling, carefree. But she wasn't there. I parked the car and got out, feeling out of place in my casual jeans and t-shirt. The people around me were dressed to the nines, glittering dresses, sharp suits, everyone looking like they belonged here. I felt like an intruder. As I walked toward the entrance, my heart raced. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, what I was even looking for. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'd walk in and see Sarah at a table with her friends, laughing, her arm draped casually over the back of a chair. She'd look up, see me, and wave me over. Maybe everything would be fine. But as soon as I stepped inside, I knew it wouldn't be. The club was dimly lit, the air thick with the smell of alcohol and sweat. Bodies pressed together on the dance floor, a sea of movement and noise. I wove through the crowd, my eyes scanning the faces, my heart pounding in my chest. Then I saw her. She was standing at the bar, a drink in her hand, laughing at something the man beside her had said. He was leaning in close, his hand resting on the small of her back, fingers splayed possessively. She didn't pull away. In fact, she leaned into him, her smile widening, her eyes locked on his. For a second, I thought I was imagining things, that it couldn't be her, that this was some horrible trick my mind was playing on me. But no, there was no mistaking that laugh, The way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled, the curve of her neck as she tilted her head back. It was Sarah, and she wasn't with her friends. I froze where I stood, my world tilting off its axis. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room, the noise around me fading into a distant hum as my mind struggled to process what I was seeing. I watched as the man leaned in closer, whispering something in her ear. She laughed again, her hand grazing his arm, her fingers lingering there just a moment too long. Then she turned her head slightly, just enough for me to see her lips meet his. My stomach lurched. I don't know how long I stood there, watching them, my mind spinning out of control. Everything I thought I knew about Sarah, about us, about the life we had built together, it all crumbled in an instant. She kissed him again, her hand sliding up his arm, her body pressing into his as the music thumped around them. They were completely oblivious to the world, to the people around them, to me. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. My legs felt like they were going to give out, my vision blurring as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. But there was no sense to it. There was no explanation that could make this okay. I wanted to storm over there, to tear her away from him, to demand answers. I wanted to scream at her, at him, at everyone in that damn club. But I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by the sheer weight of the betrayal, by the cold, sickening realization that my wife, the woman I had loved and trusted for 10 years, wasn't who I thought she was. Somehow, I found the strength to turn and walk out of the club. The cool night air hit me like a slap to the face, but it did nothing to clear the fog in my mind. I stumbled to my car, my hands shaking as I fumbled with the keys, trying to get the door open. I collapsed into the driver's seat, my chest heaving as I tried to breathe, tried to think, tried to process the sheer enormity of what had just happened. But I couldn't. It was too much, too raw. How long had this been going on? How many nights had she gone out, kissed another man, touched another man? Had she been lying to me for weeks, months, years? I slammed my fist against the steering wheel, the pain shooting up my arm, but doing nothing to dull the ache in my chest. I wanted to scream, to cry, to do anything to release the fury, the sadness, the betrayal that was ripping me apart from the inside. But no sound came out. I was numb. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. I glanced at the screen, half hoping it was Sarah, half hoping it wasn't. It was her. "Hey, heading home. Love you. Love you." The words felt like a punch to the gut. How could she say that? After what she had just done? After what I had just seen? I stared at the screen, my mind blank, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know who Sarah was anymore. When I finally pulled into the driveway, the house was dark. Sarah's car wasn't there yet, giving me time to collect myself, to think about what I was going to say when she walked through the door. I sat on the couch, staring at the front door, my heart pounding in my chest as I waited for her. Every minute felt like an eternity, the silence of the house pressing down on me, suffocating me. The sound of the front door opening snapped me out of my thoughts. Sarah walked in, her heels clicking softly on the hardwood floor. She didn't see me at first, her back to me, as she set her bag down and kicked off her shoes. "Hey," she called out, her voice light, casual, like nothing had happened. "You still up?" I didn't answer. She turned, and when she saw me sitting there in the darkness, her smile faltered for just a second, just long enough for me to see the guilt flash in her eyes. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice suddenly cautious, like she already knew the answer. I stood up slowly, my eyes never leaving hers. I could see the wheels turning in her head, trying to figure out what I knew, how much I'd seen. "How was your night?" I asked, my voice eerily calm, even to my own ears. She hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. "It was fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just the usual. You know, a few drinks, some dancing. The girls were great." The girls. Right. I took a step closer, my pulse pounding in my ears. Was he great too? Her eyes widened, and for a moment I saw pure panic. But she recovered quickly, too quickly. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice too high, too defensive. I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me, the betrayal twisting like a knife in my chest. I wasn't in the mood for her lies. Not anymore. "I saw you, Sarah," I said, my voice cold. "At the bar. With him." For a moment the room was silent. The air between us was heavy, suffocating. I watched as the color drained from her face, her lips parting slightly in shock. She didn't have an answer ready this time. She didn't know what to say, and neither did I. The silence that filled the room was unbearable. Sarah stood there, frozen, her eyes locked onto mine, as if waiting for me to blink, to look away, to somehow release her from the moment of truth that had come crashing down around us. I could see her brain working, scrambling for an excuse, a lie, something that could explain away what I had witnessed. But there was no explanation that would make this go away. No words that could undo the image seared into my mind. I wanted to lash out, to scream at her, to demand why she'd betrayed me like this. But I couldn't. The anger I expected to feel was buried under layers of numbness, shock, and disbelief. The fury simmered just beneath the surface, but I couldn't tap into it yet. I just wanted answers. I wanted to hear her say it, to admit to what she'd done. Then maybe, I thought, I'd understand. Sarah opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out at first. She took a breath, swallowing hard as if she were trying to compose herself, trying to figure out where to begin. I don't know what you're talking about," she finally said, but her voice was weak, trembling. It wasn't convincing, not even to her. I shook my head slowly, incredulous. "Don't lie to me, Sarah. I saw you." I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice, the hurt and betrayal bleeding into every syllable. "I saw you at the bar with him. I saw you kiss him." Her face crumpled, and for a split second, I thought I saw guilt flash across her features. But then, as quickly as it had appeared, her expression hardened. She crossed her arms over her chest defensively, her eyes narrowing as if she were trying to turn the situation back on me, like this was somehow my fault. "So what?" she snapped, her voice rising. "You followed me? Spied on me? Is that what we're doing now? You don't trust me, so you stalk me while I'm out with my friends?" I blinked, stunned by her sudden aggression. My mind couldn't keep up with the shift in her tone, the way she was twisting things around. I hadn't expected her to get angry, not when she was the one who had been caught. But that was how she always handled things when she felt cornered. Deflect, accuse, anything to avoid admitting guilt. I clenched my fists at my sides, trying to keep my voice steady. "Don't turn this around on me. This isn't about me following you, Sarah. I wouldn't have needed to if you hadn't been lying to me in the first place." "I wasn't lying to you," she shot back, her eyes flashing with indignation. "I was out with the girls." "With the girls?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "Really? Is that what you're going to tell me? Because I didn't see any of your friends there, Sarah. I just saw you. And him." Her mouth snapped shut, her face paling slightly, as she realized she couldn't lie her way out of this. She couldn't gaslight me, couldn't rewrite the narrative to make herself look innocent. I had seen it. There was no escaping that. For a moment, she looked down at the floor, and I thought she might finally tell me the truth. But when she looked back up, her eyes were hard, filled with defiance. "So what if I was with him?" she said, her voice cold, bitter. "So what if I kissed him?" "You want the truth? Fine. I kissed him. Are you happy now?" "Happy?" I stared at her, the words hitting me like a sledgehammer to the chest. How could she be so cruel, so cavalier about what she had done? My heart, which had been beating erratically in my chest, seemed to stop altogether for a moment. It felt like the ground beneath me had opened up and swallowed me whole. "So that's it?" I asked quietly, my voice shaking. "You're just going to admit it like it's nothing, like it's not a big deal?" She shrugged, the defensive stance still there, but now tinged with something else, something darker. "What do you want me to say, Jake? That I made a mistake? That I didn't mean for it to happen? Because I'm not sure that's true." Her words felt like shards of glass piercing through me, each one cutting deeper than the last. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything we'd been through, after the life we'd built together, she was standing in front of me, acting like what she'd done was nothing more than a fleeting moment of carelessness. But her voice, her eyes, her entire demeanor told me it wasn't fleeting. It wasn't an accident. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why, Sarah? What did I do wrong? What did we do wrong?" Her face softened for the first time since this conversation began, and for a brief moment, I thought she might show some remorse. But when she spoke, it wasn't regret in her voice. It was resignation. "I don't know, Jake," she said, her tone flat, emotionless. "Maybe I just needed something different. Something I wasn't getting here. Something she wasn't getting here." The words echoed in my mind, hollow and cruel. I couldn't comprehend it. We had problems, sure, like any couple. We had our arguments, our disagreements. We'd grown distant at times, yes, but I always thought we were working through it together. I thought we were in this together. "What weren't you getting, Sarah?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't understand. We've been through so much. We've built a life together. We've had each other's backs through everything. How could you throw that away?" She sighed and ran a hand through her hair, her eyes flicking away from mine, as if she couldn't bear to look at me anymore. "It's not that simple, Jake. You think just because we've been together for 10 years, that means we're supposed to be happy forever? People change. I've changed. Maybe I need something different now." I swallowed hard, trying to process what she was saying, but it didn't make any sense. It didn't feel real. The woman standing in front of me was a stranger, cold, detached, speaking like we hadn't shared a decade of love, laughter, pain, and struggle. "So what?" I asked, my voice trembling. "You're just done with us? Done with me?" She looked at me then, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of sadness in her eyes. But it was fleeting, gone as quickly as it had appeared. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice soft. "I don't know what I want anymore, Jake. I thought I did, but now, I'm not sure." The weight of her words pressed down on me like a physical force. I could feel my heart breaking, piece by piece, as she stood there, unsure whether the life we had built together was worth saving. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her, to make her see what she was doing to us. But I couldn't. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring down into the abyss, powerless to stop the ground from crumbling beneath my feet. "Sarah," I whispered, my voice raw with emotion. "I love you. I've always loved you. I thought, I thought we were in this for the long haul. I thought we could get through anything. She looked away again, her shoulders slumping as if the weight of my words was too much for her to bear. I thought so too, she said quietly. But maybe we were wrong. The silence that followed was deafening. It was the kind of silence that stretched on forever, heavy with all the things left unsaid, all the promises broken. I could feel the cracks in my heart widening, the pain settling deep into my bones. I took a step back, needing to put some distance between us. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like the air had been sucked out of the room and replaced with this suffocating sense of loss. So what happens now? I asked, my voice barely audible. She didn't answer right away. She stood there, staring at the floor, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, as if she was trying to protect herself from the storm she had created. When she finally spoke, her voice was small, fragile. I don't know. It was the most honest thing she had said all night. I nodded, more to myself than to her, and turned away, my mind spinning with 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 emotions. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fix this, or if it could even be fixed. I walked toward the door, needing to get out of the house, needing to clear my head. But as I reached for the doorknob, I paused and turned back to her. If you don't know what you want, Sarah, I said, my voice steady but filled with a quiet sadness, then maybe it's time for me to figure out what I want. And maybe that doesn't include you. Her eyes widened, her mouth opening as if she was about to say something, but no words came out. I didn't wait for her to respond. I opened the door and stepped outside, the cool night air hitting me like a slap to the face, sharp and sobering. As I walked away from the house, away from Sarah, I felt a strange sense of calm settle over me. The pain was still there, raw and aching, but beneath it was something else, something quieter, a sense of resolution, of knowing that whatever happened next, I would survive it. I had to. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if Sarah and I would ever find our way back to each other, or if this was the end. But for the first time in a long time, I realized that maybe I needed to focus on myself, on what I wanted. Maybe it was time for me to stop holding on to something that wasn't there anymore. And as I walked into the night, I felt the weight of that realization settle on my shoulders, heavy but strangely freeing. Because sometimes, love isn't enough. Sometimes, no matter how much you want to hold on, you have to let go.